Judy Lopez and Anthony Lopez. Jarrell is on his way to be stuck in traffic, so
He just wanted to make a lady.
William, let me start with you. Why did you want this to be kind of your first film, your directorial debut? What was it about this that you were like, I have to do this?
Well, I've been looking for something to direct for, it was like 10 years that I was. 10
There
years
he
ago.
Hello.
Anyway, I was looking for something that inspired me, that made it move me, and one of the producers on the film brought me Anthony's story, and I read his book and was moved by that and fell in love with the story, and then went to Arizona and hung out with Anthony for 4 days, where he showed me around and showed me everywhere where he grew up and all the major events happened in his life, and just after meeting him and being so moved by it all, I thought this is a story I really like to tell. I feel like the world could use, the world needs to know about Anthony, and I think, in a small way, it'll make the world a better place.
And John, talk to me about when you first heard Anthony and Judy's story. Where was that? And just talk to me about putting that on paper and doing that justice.
Well, Billy and I were talking about this yesterday. It's 7 years ago this month that we got together for the first time to talk about the story and the people and the images that we wanted to have in there. And I read the book, of course, but I hadn't met Anthony. And I went out to Arizona, and as Billy's talked about many times, and as we all know, coming into contact with him is an illuminating experience. Such goodness and such courage and such dignity. When so many people, myself included, would find something to complain about, he just finds an opportunity to overcome that. And I don't know, I feel like heroes are hard to come by these days. I don't know if it's hard to find them or hard to hold on to them, but I knew when I met Anthony that I was meeting a hero. And the degree to which you get to know someone is the degree to which they let you in. And Anthony and Judy were so open and honest that it made that part of the writing process an honor and nice to not have to make something up, but to really serve a kind of a nobility, to be honest.
Don, did you have wrestling knowledge beforehand?
Only from brothers and friends. Absolutely not at this level, and not Anthony is obviously incredibly proficient and at the top of the game. But the first day that I came on set, came to see Billy and watch them rehearse, I was watching Jarrell and Anthony go back and forth on the mat, and I was like, this is really spectacular, and they're really, at the highest level of what they're doing and masking each other. Going back and forth and mimicking each other's moves, and it was just, I knew I was going to be walking into something really where I had to also step it up, and I was able to talk with Anthony's coach, his college coach, who played, and we carry on now. He would do this during my takes all the time. So he would, oh, I'm sorry, did I say something bad?
People on his toes.
Yeah, all the time. But no, it was just a great opportunity to, as these guys are saying, tell a story that was really inspiring. You didn't have to reach for, creating facts. The facts themselves were fantastic.
Jennifer, I was thinking about this when I was walking over. Over the course of your career, everyone on stage, we've gotten to meet a lot of amazing people in our lives. And talk to me about that first meeting with Judy, and what were some of the questions that you wanted to know that were permeating your brain that you had to ask her?
The first meeting with Judy was wonderful. We met by Zoom, And I had tons of questions. I just wanted to know about her. I was like, just tell me what, about about your son. Tell me about your life. Tell me what it was like when he was born. Things like that. And those were things that, I wound up really using for the movie. Everything she told me. And also my main kind of goal in the first meeting was to make her really comfortable, to make her know that she could trust me, that she could share things with me, and I was only gonna use things that, one, she felt comfortable with, but also that I thought would contribute to telling her part of the story, because it is Anthony's story, and when I read the script, I really felt like that's what that was. But once I met her, and I met her with Anthony, and then heard Anthony talk about his mom, I realized it was really about the two of them. And that there was much more that she was giving me that I could bring to the character that maybe even wasn't originally on the page to begin with, and it was already a great script. So for me, it was just, doing my job to the fullest is really required me to bring all the things that she shared with me into the character. And we bonded on being moms, obviously, and, wanting the best for our children, and also struggling in our personal lives, and the way that you have to kind of hide that from your children sometimes, all of the emotions that you have as a mom, and all the struggles you have, besides what you're doing with raising them, the personal things. And so it was enlightening, and a real opportunity to show that side of moms, I think. So yeah, it was a great first meeting. Lots of questions I had.
Talk to me about navigating those scenes with Bobby, because there's so many intense scenes with him.
Yeah.
Just going to that place, and also just sustaining kind of that level that you guys have with each other, because it's so, dynamic.
Yeah. Well, those relationships are interesting, right? Because there's a push and a pull. There's a love and a hate. There's a dysfunction to them that is codependent, right? And the kids don't understand that really. They just are kind of have to suffer that in a weird way while you figure it out as a woman, right? And so, but the thing with Bobby's character, he was so wonderful and the perfect person to play that character, because he is so charming and he is so funny. And he really got that thing that those type of guys have, where it's like, you don't really know if they're fucking with you or not. Like you're like, are you being mean or are we laughing right now? Because that kind of hurt, but I'm not sure. I really like you, you're funny. It's this dynamic that those type of guys have, that you're just, they're so kind of charming. And they draw you in a way, and then there's this dark side to them, that comes out, and you navigate it, but it's not good for you, and you have to find a way out of it. And I think playing Judy and understanding that was a key for me.
Judy, I have to just ask you, you've been talking about this film for a while now, but what at this point has this been like? Just seeing this all play out, you have all these people here know your life story, you're a mom, you're an educator, but at this point right now, how are you feeling?
Wow, there's a lot of emotions, because it has been such a process. At first being vulnerable and then trusting a bunch of strangers, and then perhaps someone like Jennifer come in and then play the role of me, where everybody knows who she is, and 10 people know who I am, and 5 of them are my kids, So for it to be this, and then it took me a minute, to kind of even tell people that I worked with, because it was so unreal. But I think the level of trust that I have for everybody up here, I think that made it a little bit easier in watching the film. The way that Jennifer played it, she was so authentic, and she played so many parts of me. The sadness was definitely there, but there was also the joy and the bond that my son and I share, and my family. And so it was pretty incredible to see it, and I have a new perspective on me. Because I keep hearing a lot of praise for what I've done, and I saw the journey. Jennifer cared about that. She genuinely cared about portraying me in a way that was real, and with the painful parts, because we found our strength in all that pain, and I love the care that everybody up here put into that to make sure that our family was respected, and I appreciate it. So it is still a little bit unreal, but at the same time, it's exciting to see where we've come. The perspective I have that she allowed me to see in me out there. It's just strange.
Anthony, I have to ask you about the unfucking wavering support of your mother. And what that means to you, not only as a man, but as a son. And also, I'm just so curious, is your drive. There is nothing, I mean, you literally are the next unstoppable. So kind of talk to me about those two things.
Yeah, my mom is my hero, and for me, when I was born, immediately the world saw me for what I didn't have, for what would hold me back, and for what I couldn't do. And so when I stepped outside into the world, I really struggled with just my identity, with that self-confidence, but coming home, it was like my mom recharged me because she didn't think that way. She taught me to focus on what I was capable of, on my strengths. And so that was my mentality growing up, is to never allow my challenge to become an excuse, to set the bar low, to give up. And so my mom raised me with the head in the clouds, where I believed I could do anything I set my mind to, and then wrestling became the outlet for me. But, just kind of going through everything, I just learned so much through wrestling, through life, and I learned that you have to balance the positive and the negative. You have to use those things as motivation. Sometimes there are going to be negative things, there's going to be challenges out there, but you have to use that and harness that energy in a way that's going to work for you and your favor. And through it all, you just take it one step at a time, like a wrestling match. Focus on the positive things, focus on those little battles that you win, the little victories, because I think, at times, as we're facing a tough opponent in life, we don't think about, how far we're getting through it. I mean, the little things we're doing, we think about, it's tough, I can't do this, and you prepare yourself to lose that way. So my mom, she taught me not to think that way. She said, one little thing at a time, and that's what unstoppable is to me, and I learned that from her.
Gerald, kind of take me through the wrestling scenes. What did you need to learn in working with Anthony, choreographing this? Take me through the technicality of that.
Oh man, what a time.
Also the outfit, did you like wearing the outfit?
That's a great question. I haven't been asked that. I loved wearing that outfit, yes I did. I was walking around like, you see me? You see this? Working on the physicality was great because I actually got to work alongside Anthony the entire way. Anthony was my body double and my stunt double the entire production, which kind of changed a lot of the performance for me. Oftentimes as an actor, when you're playing somebody, you got like a YouTube video or a book to read or maybe a quick Zoom call where you can interview them. But I got to spend 7 months on the mat with Anthony, and I trained with him for 5 days a week for 7 months. With his actual coach, Brian Stith from ASU. It's one thing to learn wrestling, it's another thing to learn Anthony Robles wrestling. Really getting on the ground and being nimble the way Anthony is. And so at first it came with some pressure and I'm like, this is a big guy right here. But after we got cool, it became more than I'm just an actor playing him in a film. This became honestly a brotherhood and a friendship, and getting to be with him and see him comfortable in the ring, on the mat, teaching me and coaching me the way he does, inform one part of my performance, and then seeing him on set, getting up at 5 in the morning and doused with makeup for 2 hours and sitting there having to do the same thing over and over for 13-hour days. He's looking at me like, this is really what you signed up to do in your life? And just that side of him informed another part of my performance. So I'm just grateful for Billy and the producers just getting together to allow that to happen, and Anthony being on board the whole way.
Why were you late?
Damn it, Don. We didn't even say hi yet today.
Why is this your dream cast? And kind of talk to me about protecting this baby, because it's a real person's story.
Well, making sure that we represented Anthony and Judy and their whole family in a respectful and true way, was sort of my biggest hurdle. I wanted to, I've done, as an editor, I've done a lot of movies that are true stories, and you feel I definitely feel an extra level of responsibility. But with Judy and Anthony, and I felt like, you know, I got to know them so well, I feel like, you know, this is my family now, so I had to do right by them, and screening the movie for them was definitely the most frightening part of the process, because I wanted so much for them to like it, and then feel it's real, and that you know, it's authentic, and you know, all the things you want it to be, and luckily for me, they did feel really good about it. In terms of the cast, I couldn't be, as a first-time director, I don't know how I could get any luckier than to have this cast. I mean, Jarrell is, you know, Jarrell is obviously the first person cast, and you know, he's just such a spectacular actor. And you know, I saw him in When They See Us, and I thought, I never thought of anybody else. I mean, you know, to have the sensitivity to play Anthony and the sort of physicality to play Anthony is really, you know, a unique gift that he has, and obviously, you know, the result is spectacular. And then, you know, from the day when John wrote the screenplay and we were working on it, we wanted Jennifer to play Judy, and the idea that it happened, and it was just like I think I was shocked that, you know, it took me a long time to go, really? And then Don was our first choice for Coach Charles, Michael was the first choice for, you know, Coach Williams. It was just, and Bobby, you know, was the first choice for Rick, and they all responded the same way I responded. I mean, this is an incredible story, you know, that people need to know about. That you know, people come out of the theater a little better, feeling a little better than they walked in, and they all brought something special to the part. They all, like, you know, Jennifer was saying, she added things all the time, as did Don, as did Michael, as did Bobby, and Jarrell. I mean, it made me look like a really good director, I think. And I credit them, everybody here to my right, for that.
John, just like, I want to ask you, you know, working with Anthony and Judy and taking their input, how did you put their input into the script? How did you protect that in that aspect?
You know, when I wrote the first draft and Anthony read it, he said something that was really meaningful to me. He said, a lot of these things didn't happen, but they feel like what happened. And that was my goal, is to have it be emotionally true, and have it be respectful. And I think what I kept at the forefront of my mind is that I see every story as a love story. And not just the love of wrestling, and not just the love between mother and son, but like the love that a coach finds for a young man that he initially dismissed, the love for a stepfather and a husband who can't love them back for whatever reason. The love and trust you have to have in order to be honest with someone and say, I'm afraid. And ultimately, the love that you have to have for yourself, to be able to look into the mirror, because that's the person who really matters. And with that level of, I felt such a crushing responsibility to honor what's best and what was broken in these people, in order to hopefully, you know, change the molecules in the air a little bit, like weave its way into the tapestry of the soul of the reader and the viewer. So it's my privilege and my undying affection that I have for them over these last 7 years that was the North Star, I guess.
Don, I want to start with you. I want to ask the actors in the room this question, because we have a lot of actors in here who are working, who are struggling, and trying to make it. But I'm curious, as someone on this stage, what does the word unstoppable mean to you? Especially, you know, being in this business, trying to make it. There's something to that word. What does it mean to you?
You know, it's well put. It's something that you need to actually, you know, have in your back pocket if you're gonna do this, because I mean, I remember when I first started, I'm sure you guys have similar stories. Like, I heard no 500 times before I ever heard anyone, you know, kind of say they might say yes. And you just have to understand that it's a part of the process, and that, you know, as far as auditioning goes, people ask me, you know, how I want to be an actor, how do I start? And I'm like, well, I can tell you how to start 40 years ago. I don't, you know, I started at a time where you actually go in and talk to people. You know, you didn't talk to a camera in a corner. And it's a different, you know, crucible that you have to be able to navigate now to do it. I think it's harder, actually. So you have to have a commitment level, and you have to have an understanding. And something that I didn't really know when I started is that a lot of times you don't get a job. It doesn't have anything to do with you being the right one or not. You know, it's someone was looking at it at lunch or whatever. You know, it's they want this person's taller than that person. I got feedback for me that somebody said, "Oh, I heard you wouldn't work with an actress that was taller than you." I never said that. But those kinds of things are reasons why people don't get parts sometimes. I know a lot of actors beat themselves up like they didn't do something right. And I just think you have to give yourself a little more grace and understand that this business doesn't really work like that. So I think you have to have some of what Anthony, some of that grit that we're talking about, to just believe that you are doing something that is worthwhile, and if you're following the thing that you have to do, then you just have to do it. If I say to actors, if you can do anything else, do that. But if you can't and you have to do this, then you have to do this. And work doesn't just mean when you get a check. You know, you can read plays and you can work on scenes with each other and you can be in class and you can write. Everybody should be writing. It's one of the best opportunities to learn how to be a storyteller and how to really take care of that part of it, which you're always on set. You're always on set being somewhat of a writer sometimes too. So I just think the unstoppable thing is maybe too cliche, but in this regard, as an actor, you kind of have to have that in your back pocket, or you're gonna get, or the beating up that you will take can sometimes really take you down.
And Judy has similar question for Judy's. I'm sitting right next to each other, but I mean, Jennifer, similar. What does unstoppable mean to you? And Donna mentioned about having that grit, and I know you have that grit. So talk about, yeah, you got fire.
You're one big grit.
Grit and grace. I think grit and grace.
Grit and grace.
Grit and grace,
Yeah. I think what unstoppable means to me is falling down and always getting back up, right? It's like there's not gonna be a thing where, you know, or a life where you're not gonna fall down. And it's just, you know, do you stop or not? There's gonna be stops. Are you gonna stop? No, is the answer for me. I'm gonna keep going. And so that's really what it means. It's like you're gonna hit the obstacles. We all have our challenges, as Anthony has said. We're all wrestling with something in life. And those bears that we're wrestling with, whether they're emotional or, you know, from trauma or whatever they are, or even just the state of your, you know, career or success right now, you know, we all have something, and we have to just keep going. It's just the difference between succeeding and not succeeding, right? It's the people who don't stop.
Yes, Judy, I'm just curious, you know, obviously you were unstoppable with your support of your son and just never giving up on that. Kind of expand on that in your own words and what obviously this means to you.
Oh, okay, you said it really well. But I would have to say that the mistakes, if they're self-inflicted, if there's a situation in your life, someone else, something else that happens that may derail you, those scars, that they didn't define me. Being married for 20 years, trying, and you know, feeling like a failure, I guess, when that ended, that doesn't define me. I chose to push through, and like, God carried my family through so many struggles, but we kept going together. We supported one another, and I think that's the meaning of it for me.
Anthony, talk to me about the first time you saw this film. Take us through that day.
I remember seeing the finished product for the first time. It was at the Toronto Film Festival, and I'm sitting there, and I have my mom on one side and my wife and Jarrell and Jennifer sitting behind us, and I remember just sitting there going through the roller coaster of emotions with the audience as we're going through it, and just feeling like, wow, is this my life right now? This is insane. At the end, you know, I'm not someone that, you know, I kind of try to keep my emotions in, you know, but I just remember at the end of that film, you know, I tell people my eyes got really sweaty because it hit me. You know, I just remember I could not stop crying, and it was like everything just hit all at one time, and it made me think about, like, you know, all the challenges that we've been through, you know, the setbacks, the losses, and, you know, I believe a setback, a loss, is an opportunity to come back stronger. You know, you don't like the setbacks, you don't like the challenges, but you know, that's what prepares you to be stronger in life. And so just looking back, when we got to see that film for the first time, it's like, man, it was a blessing. It was all worth it to be here today. You know, and now people are going to see this film and they're going to take it in their life as they're wrestling through a challenge, and they're going to know that unstoppable is for me too. Unstoppable is my word too. And so that's what I was thinking at the end. I was like, man, this is our family legacy right here, and it's an honor because we're very proud of it. So.
Joel, final question, and close it out with you. How did this film make you stronger? How did this film, working on this film, make you stronger? Kind of extrapolating off what Anthony just said.
I literally got in the gym for like the first time in my life. So, you know, added some muscle, lost some body fat. But really beyond the actual physical and physique of it all, the mental, truly. It's impossible to spend so much time with Anthony and not adopt such a, I'll use the word grit, you know, and the work ethic and a militant mentality and a yes I can attitude. You know, I'm doing this project, I did things I never thought I could do. I pushed my body in ways, I mean, my body was literally in angles I never thought I'd ever see it. And once you kind of come up the other side of that, you just learn that there isn't anything you can't do. And so I'm excited for my next project to challenge me in different ways, in ways that I'm gonna look at it like, damn, I don't know if I could do it, but I trust myself that I will do it.
Thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Thank you.